All right, so if we can start with your name, your date of birth.
Okay, my name is Les Carlyle, born June 16th, 1925.
And which branch of the service you served in?
Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps.
Okay, and you were in the 4th?
4th Marines. I was a radio operator with a divisional scout team, regimental scout team.
And what years did you serve?
43 to 45. It was about two and a half years. It was short but intense.
Okay. And where did you grow up?
Okay, I was born in New Jersey, East Orange, New Jersey, and grew up in that area, mostly around the area called Plainfield, Central Jersey. Went to grammar school and high school in that area, and that's it.
What did you do for fun growing up?
Pardon me?
What did you do for fun? Did you play sports? Did you?
Well, yeah, I was always kind of a small guy, so I was kind of limited, but I did play football my senior year. I was big enough by that time in high school to do that, and I enjoyed that very much. I really liked that. Was great. We played a lot of basketball. We had several teams, several leagues for that. We every Saturday we played basketball. It was kind of fun. Enjoyed that.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have a sister that's older than I am. I have no idea where she is. I'm not sure she's alive anymore. She left home, and we kind of lost track of each other.
Okay.
And I was just still in school when that happened. Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the Depression at all? Growing up in the Depression?
Oh yeah, because we didn't have a lot of things, but we didn't actually not having them didn't bother us because we didn't know we didn't have them, which was kind of interesting thing. Yeah, we went through that things for time. I lived with my grandparents. My mother was my parents were divorced when I was very young. My mother acted as a governess. She worked out all the time, lived out. So I was actually brought up by my grandparents, and it was kind of a burden on them. And they were kind of strict. I don't blame them, and I wasn't the easiest kid to be around. I was always getting in some sort of trouble. Mm-hmm. That's a phone. She'll get it.
I like the ring.
Yeah. I never know what that is. Yeah, and I graduated in 1942 from grammar school. Went to high school, and I was out about a year or so when I joined the Marines. I worked with my uncle for a while in a rug cleaning business. One day I said, I gotta go. And it was different in those days. Everybody wanted to go. There was no favoritism. The only thing was which branch of service you want to go in. That was all. One of my best friends, he's still around, was in the Air Force, a P-47 pilot.
Mm-hmm.
But I was only 17 years old when I went in, and I really wanted to be a flyer, a gunner, but you had to be 18. I never understood that. You could shoot a machine gun on the ground at 17, but you had to be 18 to shoot one in the air, whatever the hell. But so I joined the Marines, and
where did you do boot camp?
Okay. I did boot camp in Parris Island, South Carolina, and that was my first time away from home. That was a revelation. But I was ready for it. It didn't bother me at all. It was pretty disciplined, but you pretty soon learned what you could do and what you couldn't do, and certain things to avoid. And had a very intense DI who was killed on Ewo turned out later, I found out, who, one of the funny stories was they rushed us right through the opening day, and when we first got there, and they rushed us through processing and cut our hair and give us all. I had already had mine tripped, that it couldn't take much off me. I grew up with a crew cut. I was way ahead of them on that. And looked over at one of my friends. They were marching us away. And I said, boy, they don't waste much time. And the D guy heard me. And he looked over, he said, "Was that you talking?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, do you want to get your face in that damn mud puddle up there? I said, "No, sir." He said, "Shut up." And went through boot camp up there, and actually for 3 months of boot camp, the last month is firing on the range. The rest of it is drilling over and over and over. I get so sick of drilling. Get up at 4:30 in the morning and fall out, and then get back in, clean up, and go have breakfast. And at 7 o'clock, you're about on a parade field. It's pretty intense stuff. But when you got went to the rifle range, it was a totally different world, because now they're encouraging to succeed and do good at it. And I fired sharpshooter, I was 3 points below expert, but at the time. But I was pleased with it. Sharpshooter was good. In fact, it's a better looking medal.
Now, did you earn all these in boot camp?
Yeah, during those in boot camp, you also qualify in various things, different pistols and carbine and a bayonet, hand grenade. That was one of the scariest things, throwing hand grenades. There's a certain way you have to learn that. You can get more range if you just don't throw it like a baseball, because it's a little heavy. But first time I did that, we had like a little quarter-pound of TNT, and you pull the fuse and throw it, and then duck down behind a cover. And it scares the life out of you every time. You don't do it. But after a while, we got pretty. Some of the guys I was with considered themselves experts in hand grenade. They had a hand grenade for everything. We'd run into rain and stuff, and the guys would search for this hand grenade, find a phosphorus grenade that would burn anything. So you put some wet wood down, put the grenade in there. And they didn't blow; they just fizzed. So guys became expert in everything, and I got so it didn't bother me that much. One of the big jokes you'd walk around. Everybody walk around with a hand grenade. Say, "But find a pin to my hand grenade."
Oh boy.
Yeah.
And how long would you have until you pulled the pin to where it would actually?
It was like, I'm trying to remember, 5 seconds, 6 seconds, short. Oh, from the time you pull the pin, you could hold it indefinitely, because there was a handle on it, and the pin held the handle down. You pull the pin, and then you still had to hold of the handle. And when you threw it, the handle popped loose. It had like 5 or 6 seconds before it would explode. So it was reasonably safe, but still, it's the idea of what you got in your hands.
Yeah.
kind of scares you for a long time. I can't think of it.
Okay. And then after you graduated from boot camp, what happened? What happened next?
Okay, well, after boot camp, I was assigned to radio school. What they did was they had a series of tests, aptitude tests, and one of them was for a radio man. And what they did is lock you in a room with earphones, and they play Morse code at you. And all you had to do was identify it, because we couldn't read it, but say, well, that's the same or that's not the same. And I was one of two guys that stayed awake through the whole thing. We both ended up in radio school. I think that was all it took. But we got I went to radio school and spent, I forget how long, a couple, 3 months there. Got pretty proficient in that, learned semaphore, which I used a little bit, but hardly ever again. And I said, very proficient in it, but qualified at about, I think I was doing 20 words a minute. That's 5 or 6 5-letter groups. That's about as fast as you can write. After that, the guys that took high speed, they were typists. They could just, and the code just, it flows into your ears and you don't even think. You just translate into what the letter is. That's what the typists do. Well, the same thing, once you got pretty good about it, you just hear it, you know what it was. You didn't think, because if you tried to count the dots and dashes, you can't do that. Yeah. So they keep on it that long that you kind of get, it's like playing the guitar, you just do it, you know.
It's second nature.
Yeah.
How long did that last for?
That was a couple, 3 months, I guess. I graduated from radio school, and they sent us. Then shortly after that, we transferred out. That was back in New River, North Carolina. They transferred us out to Camp Pendleton. It took us a week to come across country because we got sidetracked. For every the express going through, they'd shuttle us off on the side. We'd sit there 30, 40 minutes and wait. And finally we got out to the West Coast, to Oceanside. And I was assigned at first in the artillery, the 14th Marines. And we had howitzers. And one of the things we had to do, these things, it's a small cannon, and it breaks down into pieces. One guy, if he was an ape, could do this. You had to be big to do it. Carried the barrel. And then one guy carried the axle and 2 other guys carried the wheels. So you had 4 men.
Wow.
And I mean, I couldn't do it. There's no way. You had to be an ape to do that, to tell you the truth. But one of the things we do is out here in Pendleton, climb the hills, taking these guns up and down the hills. And we had big slings. You put 5 or 6 guys in a big loop and tow them up the hill, which was bad enough. But the worst thing is going down, because if the gun got away from you, guys are going to be falling all over the place. But we did that for quite a while. Unfortunately, I got out of that and got reassigned to the 24th Marines, which was an infantry outfit. I got out of that artillery, which was pretty good. We lived by the bugle. That was very, very, that was interesting. Everything we did, we fell out, we had mess, we went to bed, everything by the bugle. Yeah. But the 24th, we didn't do that. But that's when I started learning what I was going to do. And we had at a level we called field operations. We'd go out and set up our radios and run through kind of dry runs, just practicing one over and over and over and over again. Just a lot of that stuff. But it's very simple. Probably, I think being a radio man could have very well saved my life, because being a rifleman is really much worse. A rifleman, you're up in your assigned area, wherever you are, you come up, and you got to stay there. You can't leave. We would go out and scout through the team, but pull back to headquarters at night. That was a break. The other guys had to stay there and take it. And we got caught several times. We were out and around the regimental front line. We were out scouting in front of them quite often. But and we got shot at a lot. I never got hit. A couple of guys did. We have to evacuate them and so forth. But it was an interesting experience. Yeah.
So when you first got shipped out, where did you head?
Okay.
Once you left the
Okay,
United
we shipped out of San Diego in January '43, and we sailed directly with a short stop at Pearl to receive orders. We sailed directly out to the Marshall Islands, and we were the first effort to ever do that, to go directly from the U.S. into combat without staging someplace in between. Normally they would have someplace and you'd have your final staging in someplace on the way. But we didn't, or like Hawaii or something like that. We just sailed directly. We went from San Diego to Kwajalein. That was, I forget how far it is. It's in there. But it was nonstop, except for that one stop. Mm-hmm. A lot of time at sea. You just spend hours and hours at sea. I remember when we pulled up into the lagoon. No, he's making up with you. We pulled up in the lagoon. It's a large atoll. We pulled in the lagoon, mm-hmm. And I lost my thought. Oh, we watched them. We watched them. They bombed and shelled the island. And I remember when we started in landing barges. By that time, we were convinced there was nothing left alive on the island, that we were just going to make a dry run. There were about 3,500 Javs on those two islands.
So how long before you guys actually touched land were you in the area? You said the Navy was.
What they do is we go off over into the barges, 8 to 10 miles out at sea, mm-hmm. Pretty far out, so that those vessels didn't get hit. They take them out of range, basically, and we go in. I remember. I was just made the point that we thought there was nothing left on it, and at that time there was a crazy song out called Mersey Dotes, and we were singing that in the barge, a bunch of 17 or 18-year-old kids. Until we got in pretty close, and we heard a little rifle fire, mm-hmm. and it stopped right on the spot. In fact, we had a lieutenant almost go berserk, screaming at us to shut the hell up, stop that, this is dangerous. We didn't know what the hell we were doing at the time. It was just one of those things. But that was interesting. I said, it's a long time going in there. But I actually landed in the Marshalls. No, in a barge, that's right. Later, we landed in barges, combination landing craft. I landed on Saipan on a duck, which amphibious, just runs right up on the beach and mm-hmm. takes you inland. But most of the time was in what they call LCVPs, landing craft, vehicle and personnel. Mm-hmm. And with a ramp, they call ramp boats. The ramp would go down, drop you down, and you'd run out. Try not to get too wet. And that was interesting. We finished, that battle only lasted technically a little over a day. And we took several prisoners. We lost some people, but right in the middle of it, an hour after we got in, some Marines threw a satchel charge into a pillbox. It turned out it was a torpedo dump, torpedo warhead dump. And it just, when it blew, it was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like it. And
tell me when you guys are ready for lunch.
Okay. I was probably a couple hundred, give or take, yards from it. Mm-hmm. And it just knocked everybody down. Huge pieces of concrete. The the concrete from the pillbox went flying. Reinforced concrete was flying through the air, overhead, out to the sea. And in fact, there were some sailors out at sea got damaged, got hurt by that stuff that was coming down. And of course, it knocked us all silly. And I was laying with my buddy, looking over and trying to. It was like sand falling. This was towards the end. At first, it covered the big stuff, and then it was dust and dirt kept coming over, choking and everything. And I was facing my buddy. He was looking by me, and we heard a guy start hollering, "Carmen, Carmen!" And he looked over and he said, "My God, look at that man's arm." And I said, I didn't want to look because the guy he was still trying to dig in when this stuff got hit, and he got a couple of big hunks of concrete come down, and he got hit him, one in the elbow, one in the wrist, and just kind of cut his arm off, just basically. And it was silence for a while, and I don't think he even knew it because he was probably in shock. I think when he turned around and tried to do something, that's when he started screaming, "Carmen, Carmen." Yeah. That was introduction to that, and that's my first dead Marine. That big blast that caused quite a few casualties, as you can imagine, and a dead Marine. By that time, we'd seen a few dead Japanese, but the guys were in the same suit as you. It's different, and they look different, obviously, Sure. And the first dead Marine was kind of hypnotic. I said, "Oh my God!" As a result of that blast, one of the byproducts of explosion is picric acid, which is a greenish thing. And some of these guys were frozen the way they died and covered in green. There was one guy I remember had a rifle. He was the thing killed him, and it was like a dead soldier, a green soldier. Just strange. I remember that very clearly. But we got through that, and it was my introduction to it. And I remember thinking when that thing went off, I said, "My God, this is an hour. What's it going to be like the next one and the next one after that?" It's only an hour into it. Yeah. This is what combat is? Yeah. I don't like it.
So you had mentioned earlier about I don't know if it was on the same island. They had tried to blow up another. Was it ammunition hold?
Yeah, there was a big.
Was that on the same island?
There was a big blockhouse on the island. Yeah, and they turned out they were trying to explode it, but they weren't. They were using grenades. There wasn't enough to do it. One of the guys blew his hand off. One of the Japanese blew his hand off. I ended up on a litter crew carrying him back to the beach and get him fixed up or whatever they did to him. And I had his stump of his arm rubbing against my elbow, my wrist all the way up there. I said, "Oh my God!" But at 18 years old, you grow up pretty damn fast, because you got to do it. There's no. One of the other things they came and grabbed a bunch of guys for carry ammo up. The front lines is that's 100 yards away, and so I tried to. They put the ammo on a bunch of boxes of ammo on a litter stretcher, and the trouble is, as you start walking, the thing starts doing this, and it gets heavier. It's a harmonic action, and I just couldn't hold it. Somebody had to grab it, so I just went along as a rifleman to do that. And we got shot at a couple of times doing that. And we got up to the area we're going. It was a Colonel Dias. He was the senior guy that was killed over there. Big, mean-looking, red-headed guy, scary guy. Just And he said, I got some volunteers, we're going to go up here. And he went, you. And he went right by me, and I thought, thank God. He picked my friend Nick, who turned pale. Oh my God. But he got up and ran, because you have to do it. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But he made it, finally, and got through. And then the next day, the colonel started to lead a charge, jumped up, grabbed his rifle, and yelled at the guy, let's go, and a jet machine gun hit him. And he was a senior guy killed over there. And they named the field after him, that airfield in Roy is Dias Field.
Okay.
So it was kind of a quick, short but intense introduction to combat.
Yeah.
See, and I said, the worst thing is seeing another guy wearing the same suit as you and then laying there dead.
Yeah.
You never forget that.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing you don't ever forget, we were there for about a week. Had it rained and then the sun would come out and everything. And these dead bodies are laying there and they're just kind of swelling up and everything. And the odor is intense.
Yeah.
You smell it. I don't know when I got over it. I can't remember now, but it was a long time before I got that smell out of my system.
Yeah.
Because it's just, it's awful. It's just one of the worst things that you can imagine.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. We after that was over, we sailed back, set up a base camp over in Maui, and started working and retraining. We lost a few guys, but not enough to make a lot of difference. We got a few replacements, but not very much. And about that was in the end of February. We landed over there on the 1st of February, 44. And in June, we landed on Saipan. So from about March to May, we had cut a leisure time. It was not very long. March to May. And we're back aboard ship and going to Saipan. And Saipan was interesting because that was one of the islands that was mandated to the Japanese after World War I. So they'd been on it for quite a while. The main product over there was sugar cane. And they had sugar cane factories and so forth. It was a big exporter of sugar cane, mainly back to Japan. And they were in there, they were very experienced. It was a bigger island, of course. Roinamore being such tiny little sand spits. And this island was 13 miles long by about 5 wide or something like that. And there were a lot of Japanese on it, about 40-some thousand, and a bunch of civilians, like 20,000 civilians that worked the fields, so forth. Saipan was a particularly brutal battle. I really, as I mentioned to you before, I don't have a lot of recollections, specific recollections. I just remember every day you got up and went out and did your thing, and there were periods when nothing would happen. You'd spend a couple of days and be out because the Japanese were concentrating someplace else or moving around. But it was unexpected. You never know when something's going to happen. So you had to be ready all the time. The worst thing is walking through those sugarcane fields. We put the tanks out in front of us and follow in the tracks behind them because they'd mow the sugarcane down. And these guys are hiding in the sugarcane, and you don't know where the hell they are. And that was kind of a scary thing. Thank God for those tanks. And also I mentioned flamethrowers. They were very big out in the Pacific War and World War II. And thank God for them. I know they've been banned, and I don't know, people talk about humaneness. Not much more humane. Shooting a guy or burning him, you're going to kill him. Yeah. But war is not humane. It's just, you can't say there's nothing humane about it. That was weapons we had, and thank God we had them. I feel the same way about the A-bomb.
Yeah.
As and we could talk about that one later. Come on. But the worst thing is that happened over there was when we got up to the north end of the island, the Japanese they had told the civilians terrible stories about the Marines. And I'll tell a story to counter that. But so when we got up there, they were forcing, sometimes at gunpoint, for these people to jump over the cliffs. They were forcing them over the cliffs.
Forcing civilians?
Forcing the civilians. Said we saw women with their babies, throw the babies over and then leap over after them, that kind of stuff. It was terrible. And the point is, it didn't have to happen. When we would set up a command post, and being in regiment, we held that command post for a week or two, and then we'd move forward. And we moved into one area. There was a Japanese family. We kind of surrounded them. They were living in with us. To all intents and purposes. They were they're Okinawans and Koreans, all mixed. We don't know. They're Orientals. That's all we knew. But there were some little kids there, and we were giving them candy and all sorts of stuff and everything. And when we moved on up, there was a feeling we were leaving kind of like family behind. These were our friends by this time. And that's basically, the Marines, did their thing, but once they captured somebody, they couldn't do enough for them. And that was true. So these suicides, it didn't have to happen. Marines wouldn't have done that thing. There'd have been some, what they call collateral damage now, but that'd have been minimum, and it just wouldn't have happened. But we had loudspeakers set up, and we talked a lot of them out of it, but there were still, I forget how many, it's in there. We're estimated how many went over the cliffs. It was just very, very hard to take. After Saipan, we kind of regrouped for a week or so, and then all that time, when we got onto Saipan, we brought in the heavy artillery. We had 155s. Two of my friends that I went through, signed up with, were both in the artillery. And so they set up the artillery and used that to shell Tinian, which is only 3 miles across the water. And they kind of neutralized Tinian. And of course, the Japanese on Tinian knew we were coming, so they kind of went underground, so not to reveal their position and everything. So when the time came, and also we had P-47s over there, and they were hitting pretty hard too. So it kept these people pretty neutralized. When we went aboard ship again to go over to Tinian after a couple of weeks, there were only a couple of decent, there was only one decent landing beach on Tinian, and that was on the west side by Tinian Town, which was the only town on the island. It's not that big an island. And it was kind of a natural amphitheater with a beach out there. I hate to think what would happen if we had to go in there. But they had observed on the north end of the island 2 very small beaches that they could go in on. One was 65 yards wide, the other was about 135 yards wide. And that's where we landed. And what we did was the 5th Marines, the 2nd Marines were with us. So the 2nd Marines sailed around opposite, off Tinian Town, 10, 12 miles out of sea. And They actually went over the side into the landing barges, formed waves, and started in to the beach. And when that happened, the Japanese, wherever they were on the island, kind of converged over in that area. Well, when that happened, we intensified the artillery and naval and the the bombs against them, and cut them off. And so the Second Marines. One of the other things the Second did was, as part of the ruse, they formed up in the boats, and then they would sail around a little bit, and then sailing around behind the ship. And the Marines would get off, walk across the deck, the boats would come over, they get back in the boat. So Japanese, of course, watching them, and looks like got twice as many people. Looks like looked like the invasion. And it worked, because we put the division in there on those two little beaches, and with very, very scattered small arms fired, hardly any casualties at all. We lost a few, because they didn't get all the Japanese up there, but it was a very successful operation. It was called the perfect amphibious operation, as I mentioned. Nothing really perfect in a war. There's no such thing as a perfect war, but it worked. That was the main thing. And the entire Battle of Tinian, the major battle was the first night. Tinian is, if you've ever been up through the desert, you got tree lines. For agriculture. And the fields are laid out with tree lines around them. And it was a pretty bright moonlit night. I remember that first night. And the Marines were in the tree lines in the shadows, and the Japanese attacked right across the open field. And they estimated they counted over 1,200 dead Japanese, and they estimated another 800 to 900 got pulled back. And it just crippled them. And they just took the life out of them. And after that, it was just mopping up, which is not easy, because they're still shooting at you, and you don't know where they are, and you're still taking casualties. But basically, that was the whole Battle of Tinian was right there.
Do you know about how many days you were on the island?
Tinian was, I don't know, probably less than a week, about a week. Well, yeah, we went back, we weren't there very long. Didn't take that long.
And where were you sleeping, and what were you eating at the time?
In a hole in the ground. Everybody had a hole in the ground. One of the things you learn to do is dig yourself what we call foxholes in those days. Get a foxhole. And it's amazing how, they give you a lot of cover. But after a while, you get kind of sloppy and say, I'll sleep above ground and hope nothing's going to happen. And, let me retract to Saipan. One night, one of the Japanese got into our command post, and one of the sentries, one of the guys saw him and fired his word. He didn't want to shoot because there were people all around the place. Yeah. And so he shot in the air, and he started hollering, "Jap in the command post, there's a Jap in the command post," which woke us all up, of course. So we had these big Bowie knives. I took my knife out and I held it like this. I thought, well, if he stumbles on me, I got this knife. I felt safe. But it turned out that one of the other guys shot him, but he also, the same guy that shot that also shot our switchboard operator. And the next morning, when we woke up, they had pulled these two guys out. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right.
You okay?
Yeah, I think we're still good. Good.
Okay. they had the switchboard operator, and this chap who was still alive. He was unconscious, but he was still breathing. I thought, that isn't right. My friend is dead, and this guy isn't. But he died that night. Anyhow, that's one of those internal stories.
Yeah. Were you able to get much sleep? I mean, was it?
Yes and no. Yeah, cat nap.
Yeah.
Because you never know when something's going to blow off. You know, it's just, you don't ever really sleep. You know, you just kind of cat nap and hope nothing's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we left off on Tinian then, correct?
Yeah. And we came back to our base on Maui for a while. Yeah, we reorganized because we lost several people, and we got some replacements sent in.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a few weeks, and we're back on board ship again.
Is this becoming very repetitive for you?
Yeah. Well, we've already had 3 of them, and now there's going to be, well, that's like 2.5, because those 2 were happening, right? But they're separate, totally separate things.
Sure.
Yeah, 3 of them. And but now you know, those of us that, especially guys like me that have been hit, you feel pretty invincible.
Yeah.
Really. And they didn't tell us where we were going. They had no idea where we were going. You never know you can board ship when you get out to sea and you're not coming back, and you're not going to Pearl or anything like that. Then they break out the maps and start briefing you in the wardrooms and on the deck and everything. Get everybody briefed. And so they were telling us, Iwo Jima. I'd never heard of it. I have no idea what Iwo Jima was, of course, what it was or anything else. And the story they told us that we would be phased out in about a week and become floating reserve for Okinawa, because that was also coming up. And about a month later, after we landed, I wonder what happened to that story, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we never could figure whether they knew how bad it was going to be and just didn't tell us, or they didn't know how bad it was. And I kind of go that way. I don't think they really realized what we're going into. We pulled up day before we watched them show, and that's the first time I saw B-29s in action. Go over there. B-29s, B-29s and 24s were hit it pretty hard. Naval gunfire was. They put more gunfire on that 8 square miles than D-Day in Europe. That's an interesting fact. And they counted. They did a count it later, and they counted like 5,000 shell holes per square mile on that island, square miles. And there were 26,000 Japanese on it, and we had about 70,000 on the assault waves going in. They were, when we found out we got in there, it was strange. Somebody said we were on the island, they were in it, because they had 17 miles of tunnels and about 1,500 gun positions and outlets, places they could sneak in. And some of these tunnels went down three stories. They were deep in that island, up in that end of the island. Kobayashi's cave was up there. He lived up in that area. They never found him. He never did show up. But it was strange because up to that time, for example, on Saipan, I remember seeing Japanese soldiers running across the field, and actually I called an airstrike on them. I didn't directly, but I called it in and I gave the coordinates of where these guys were, and pretty soon here come these P-47s and just blew that. We went through that area later, and there were limbs all over the place. They did a terrible job. But Iwo was totally different. You hardly saw any Japanese. There were 26,000 of them, and saw them, very few of them, because they were in those caves. And what the Marines developed a tactic when they would find a cave, get a bulldozer, first get a flamethrower come up and shoot flame into it to burn the oxygen out, and then cover it up. But when they did that, you look over and there's smoke coming over here and over here, going through those tunnels. It was a strange war. But the other thing I remember about Iwo was it was just incessant. It never stopped, day and night. Something was always blowing up someplace. It's just, you talk about sleep. I don't know if I slept or not. I probably did, but I don't remember much of it. It was a totally intense thing. I mentioned we had the dogs with us, and we had the Navajos. They had joined us in Saipan. We had Navajos in Saipan, and we got to know those people pretty well. And that battle lasted about a month, a little over a month, and it was the only battle that the Marines ever had where they took more casualties than they inflicted. Basically, of the 26,000, they estimated all but 1,000 or some number like that. Some of them they don't find them where they're still in those caves. But we had, I forget the casualties, 28,000, 26, about 34,000 casualties. We had 6,800 dead Marines out of the island from all three divisions and 2 divisions. And the Japanese had that 2,500 or 25,000 or so. I said it was the first time the Marines took more casualties than they inflicted. Kind of lost my train of thought again.
You talk about the terrain on the island.
Yeah, the terrain was
mobility.
The terrain was fierce. It was a volcanic island. Unlike the other islands, Saipan Tinian were coral islands, and coral sand it kind of sticks to itself. Iwo was a volcanic island, and it was all volcanic ash, and it doesn't stick. And so when you step in it, you just sink into it. We'd go up there and we'd sink in up to our ankles, just trying to. And when we went ashore, we'd come out, run up, and the Japanese had terraced the islands. And there were 8 to 10 foot terraces, and then they'd stretch out for 50, 100 yards, there'd be another one. And you'd fight your way up over one and say, oh, no, I can see something, and you're looking at another terrace up ahead. And the stuff just consumed you. It was hard to do that. That was on the landing beaches. When, of course, to the south was Mount Suribachi, which is the highest point on Iwo. It's 550 some feet. And 2nd Marines went across there, the 5th Marines, I'm sorry, cut the island off and secured that end of the island. I was in the 4th. We were up and we landed to the right of the 5th, and we went after we got ashore. We pushed ahead, got a beachhead established, and then we headed north. We turned north. My good friend, the dividing line between their territory and ours and our landing beaches was a series of cliffs. And my good friend Tom Kirsten was, he was a BAR man in 3rd Battalion, 25th. And he was on a mission. They sent some out to scout. And we had pulled our tanks in. We always, when we secured at night, we pulled the tanks in and behind the infantry, so they would be protected because they're pretty vulnerable at night, and to protect them. So they were sitting back there, and they had this team out there. There was about 6 or 8 of them, including Tom, and they hadn't told the tanks they were sending them out, apparently, and they got loose, and the tankers got 4 of them, including Tom, and snipers got 2 more. And a couple of days later, when I was coming back from my patrol, when I was going, I could tell what the unit was by the decals on our jersey, on our shirts. And I knew that it was the 3rd Battalion, 25th guys. So I asked one of them about Tom. The guy said, "Oh, you're his buddy. You're just going to visit him." I said, "Yeah." So he pointed to the guys, "Go talk to him." The guy was in a hole. So I said, I remember saying, "He's dead, right?" He said, "Yeah." So I went over and talked to this guy. He was a corporal that led the patrol. And he was one of 2 guys that come back from that patrol. But again, that's kind of the way those things go. Anyhow, we got up into the north end of the island. And they had, that was totally different. It turned into, it was, I wouldn't say mountainous, but it was a lot of ravines and hills and ravines, rocky ravines. And the Japanese then emplaced some of their tanks. The tanks actually became useless in the sand and so forth. They couldn't do much with them. So basically secured the tanks, piled rocks around to hide them. Hey. That guy's up on the roof. And I remember walking around, come up, I'm looking head on into the barrel of a tank about 10 yards in front of me, whatever, 20 yards. I thought, oh my God. Hey, stop. Yeah, it was, there's something else I was say.
What was your feeling when you noticed that you were looking straight down the barrel?
What?
What came across to you when you noticed that you were looking straight down the barrel? What was your reaction?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, and just duck and get the hell out of there as fast as you can, you know. But the tank was dead. They burned it out, but you can't tell. Yeah. Looking down the barrel of a gun, you don't know what the hell's in it. I remember that. But it was kind of frightening. Hey, stop. Stop. He does that.
Trying to make friends. Now, did you witness the flag being raised on Mount Suribachi? Or?
Oh, okay. Dino, stop, dog. Hold on a minute.
Dad.
Hey. Get in there.
Where is he?
Let's go.
Hey, pup.
Okay. Just sit down.
You're okay. You're okay.
Sit. Yeah, we had gone out and on our patrol, and we already have one guy hit and evacuated. The corporal in charge was running our group. Said, he said, call him. Stop. Give one more. He said, call the major and see what he wants us to do, because we're just going to lose more people. Every time we move, we got shot at. So I got him on the phone. I got the major on the phone. I explained the situation. And while I was talking to him, he said, hold on. And I was dead for a while. Pretty soon he came back. He said, can you see Zorobachi from where you are? I said, of course. Hell, it's hard to miss. Yes, sir. I can see it. And you see what's on it? So I squinted. I said, it looks like a flag. And he said, yeah, it just went up while we were talking. And that's when they said all the boats and stuff started. We never heard that. We're up here. We never heard all that stuff going on. That's my view of the flag raising up there. But a lot of people think that was a sign of victory. It wasn't. Right. That was like on the fourth day. Mm-hmm. We still had a month to go, and a lot of stuff happened in that month. But that was my flag raising story.
Did you feel that the end was close, or did you have the feeling that you guys were going to be there for a while? Or?
No, I said you get really. You're not thinking much anymore. You're just doing it.
Yeah.
Time doesn't mean much. Mm-hmm. We get up every morning, and I would get my radio, and I'd get with the other guys, and we'd take off on our patrol. Sometimes we rode half tracks out there. Most of the time we walked. It wasn't all that big. You just go do it, and hope to hell, hope you can come back.
Yeah.
The trouble is, I would do that. I would be out carrying. I was about my own this weight, and I'm carrying about 35 pounds of radio. We put them in rubber sacks, mainly because the straps, the whole thing, it was easier to carry. Mm-hmm. The radio itself, without them, just had a thing that just dug in your back. It was a terrible design. So we carried these big rubber sacks, put the radio in it, stick the antenna up, and then you'd carry some K rations and a few grenades. So I don't know what this thing weighed. But all I'm saying, about 145 pounds, 150 pounds. I got another 45, 50 pounds on my back. And we're running through the sand, stuff like that. But I say, you just, I really don't remember just thinking much about time. It's just, you want to get over, but you don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you're very intense when it's happening. Time goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an interesting question, though.
Well, because that battle lasted a lot longer than the previous ones you'd experienced, correct?
No, but Saipan took the better part of a month.
Yeah.
Almost about the same time.
Okay.
Tinian was short, mm-hmm. and the march was very short. Tinian was, Tinian was 4 or 5 days. This one lasted, 34 days, something like that. Mm-hmm. But say the difference was, on those other places, we would have periods when nothing happened. And you could kind of relax a little bit, and much as you can relax in a combat zone.
Sure.
Not knowing where the hell they are. But on Evo was just nonstop. It just, the thing I remember more than anything is just, something was exploding all the time. It was just terrible. So, you asked about sleeping? I have no idea if I slept or not. I know I did, of course.
Yeah.
But, it's hard to, yeah. I know there's other thing I want to tell you, but I can't remember them right now. Let me see if I can, let me remind some of this stuff. Oh, do you want to backtrack a little bit?
Yeah.
When we went to, there's a story I told over when I was visiting on Guam, when I was on one of those trips. D-Day on Tinian was on Saipan was 15 June 44, and they had told us this was turning the war around in the Pacific War because this was a mandated and all that stuff. Up to that time, we just pushed back where they had taken World War II. Now we're pushing back to pre-war stuff. So it's a historic time. It's a very big thing, and it's important. You guys are doing a hell of a job. The only trouble is that 9 days before that was D-Day in Europe, June 6th. So the whole Pacific War got forgotten for a few months. So the whole Pacific War was kind of secondary, except to the Japs, not to the Japs. What they did was, after we got ashore, the Japanese sent a huge armada out. I forgot here. There was a huge armada of infantry troops and carriers and so forth to drive us off to Saipan. They got intercepted on the way. That our Navy caught them, and the Battle of the Philippine Sea occurred. And one of the subplots of the Battle of the Philippine Sea was what was called the Marianas Turkey Shoot. They lost 3 carriers and about over 600 airplanes. It was actually a battle fought between carriers. Our guys sunk 3 of theirs and they sunk some of ours. But they lost 600 some people opposed to about 100 some Americans. And it just wiped out Japanese air. And we still had them, but they were not effective at all. It was the end of the Japanese naval influence in the war of any consequence. It was good. Well, I did this because that was an important thing.
Yeah.
Very important.
You don't hear about that.
Yeah. Also, on Saipan, we landed there on the 15th, and about 3 weeks later, and Japanese were getting pretty desperate, and they formed a banzai attack. And this was a strange thing. They estimated there was over 3,000 or so. Some were armed, some had swords, some had sticks, anything walking wounded. They got up and they came in, and they broke into the lines. They broke into the we had some army over there. They broke the army lines. And what the Marines did was they cut their artillery fuses to 0.4 of a second, which is like it's going off right after it goes out of the barrel almost. You know, it's not very far.
That's fast.
But they turned it back, and they were firing point blank into these guys, and they wiped them out. But we had about 1,500 casualties because they did overrun some of the area. It was pretty bad. That banzai was.
That's enough. He's not hurting you. He's not hurting you.
See what? Glad I did this because. Forgot one of the most significant things on Iwo. We brought at that time, the B-29s were flying out of Tinian mainly. And that was like it was like a 2,600 mile round trip to Japan. And that gave me about 20 minutes over target. That was a long flight just to do that. Plus the fact they were losing some, because the B-29 was a fairly new airplane. So they were losing some at sea and so forth. And they were getting hit So every mission they flew from Tinian up to Japan, they got hit 3 times. They got hit at Iwo on the way up, and the Japanese fighters come up and hit them, and the ones that made it came back, and because they couldn't fly around Iwo, they had to go. It was directly in line, and with the fuel and everything, they had to go right over it. So the fighters would come back second time out of Iwo and hit these guys again, and they lost. They estimated they lost I don't know, a couple thousand B-29. Really terrible loss. They were about ready to call off the bombardment when Iwo became very important, because Iwo did a couple things. It gave us an airfield and deprived them of the airfield. So that was really, so that's what Iwo was all about, much of anything. So we traded off a lot of Marines for a lot of Air Force guys, Air Corps guys, and so forth. But that was kind of interesting. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, also on Iwo, up in the north, there was an area about 3 city blocks that became known as the meat grinder, with good reason. There were several names, the amphitheater and whatever, somebody's ridge and all that stuff. But there was about, all ravines and stuff in that area. And there were committed about 8,000 Japs. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself. You're going to edit this. You're going to edit all this, right?
Yep.
Oh, here it is. Yeah. There were several thousand Marines committed there over a 7-day period. We had 1,500 casualties in this 3 square block area in about a week. That was kind of get an idea how that was. That was really the worst fighting on Iwo. It was really tough. Going up Suribachi was no picnic. We lost guys doing it. But the biggest, heaviest fighting was up on the other end of the island, all intents and purposes. And I said 30 days. There were 21,000 Japs killed, and it was estimated at one time there were 14,000 of them still left in those holes, caves. They've been digging them out over the period of time. One of the reunions we had, there was a Japanese naval commander who, after the war, became a Buddhist monk and devoted his life to digging in those caves and getting remains back to the families. And after my first trip over the 40th anniversary, when I came back,
He's not hurting you.
To Pendleton, he came over. We have a anniversary dinner on Iwo anniversary every year down at Camp Pendleton, and this Japanese monk was there, and it wasn't a dry eye in a place, I'll tell you. It was very emotional.
Wow.
Very emotional. Yeah, I filled in a few things there for you.
Okay. Good. Do you remember your last few days on Iwo? As it was coming to an end, and once you finally got off?
No. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I do. There was, we got off a little early. The fort took such heavy casualties. We actually got off about a week before the rest of the guys. And so they were loading us out, taking us back out on the trip transports.
It's okay. It's okay.
And while that happened, there was a false rumor about a truce.
Yeah.
And so the guys on the beach were shooting off, celebrating, shooting guns in the air and all sorts of. So we're coming up, we get up, we're up, pulled up next to this. We got to climb up these rope nets you've seen.
Yeah.
And so we're doing that, we're started up. And one guy got hit by one of these stray bullets coming in, and this wild shooting was going on.
Yeah.
We were that close, but this time these transverts were in pretty close. You know, this guy got hit and fell off the net. Well, when that happened, everybody just ducked. Said, shit, you know, boom.
Yeah.
Get down behind cover. So there's a Navy ensign up there, and he's screaming. His job is to get us on fast as he can, get us on the damn thing, get out of there. So he's screaming. Nobody's paying attention to him. So he pulls his 45 out. We did that. You heard about everybody put around. We're all loaded. We were all carrying carbines and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody, and it was dead silence. He put the thing away and walked away. We never saw him again. He never came back. Yeah, that's how I remember leaving that island. True story.
Wow.
True story. I don't know what he thought. Well, I don't blame him. He had to do something.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the thing to do.
No.
Because he's looking at a bunch of guys just came off that island, and every one of us is pissed off
Sure.
and filthy dirty and tired and armed. You don't want to take that punch on.
Yeah.
Anyhow, he was young, very young guy. Oh, and the other thing I remember going into I forgot this before. I was with the regimental commander. I was his radio man, and then when I got ashore, I went with the other team. But so when we loaded in the landing barge, when the ramp boats, and so I was in the back, and he was in front of me. And across over on this side is the Navy coxswain. It's the Navy officer in charge of the boat. He's over here like, you know, about where she is, maybe a little closer. So, and they got us going this, you know, you see this going round and around. Finally, they get the orders to go in. So we get the wave formed, and we start in. So I had this 45 plus my carbine. So I thought, well, we're going in. I took the thing out, put a round in it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're careful, I don't know, have you ever experienced with a 45?
Mm-hmm.
You know about it?
Yep.
You know about the half safe and all that?
No.
Well, anyhow, there's 2 or 3 safeties on it. One is if you can push the muzzle in, it won't fire.
Okay.
And the other thing is the hammer has what they call a half safe position.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is when you put it through, the hammer goes all the way back. And you can, if you're careful, you can grab the hammer, pull the trigger, and put it up halfway, which is what I was going to do. I've done it 100 times before. Unfortunately, I'm pointing out open water. And so I get the pistol on, do this, and I reach up, boom. And it was a big, you know, we just started in, so there's a big roar and everything. So the colonel's right, sit up in front of me. He didn't even hear it. But this guy did. This Navy officer did. And he looks over like, stares at me. And I'm sitting there holding this smoking 45, you know. And I just shrugged and did it, the same thing. Mm-hmm. Except this time I did it right, put it. Didn't think another thing about it. And I thought later, this guy thinks I tried to kill him, you know.
Yeah.
Crazy goddamn Marine took a shot at me or something, you know. Going and we get in. We landed about just before dusk on D-Day, because we reserve regiment. what they do is all the military is organized in what they call triangular divisions. So you got division has three regiments and has 3 battalions. It's 333. So we're reserve. And we go in and we're going to lay. There's about six boats in this wave. We started. And we got in pretty close. Iwo is a volcanic island, and you go about 100 yards out, it's 100 feet deep.
Mm-hmm.
There's no continental shelf or anything. So as we get in, we're making pretty much this final run to the beach, and the guy in the boat over here, who's ever run that, the guy that charge of the ramp got nervous and he dropped the ramp. We're still out in the water. So that boat just turned into a submarine like this. So all the guys just threw everything off.
Yeah.
But now they got to swim ashore,
Mm-hmm.
We were that close. Well, when that happened, what had happened is that a round of artillery dropped in between us, and that's what caused the whole thing. The Japs saw us coming and drop a round of artillery right in front of us. So when that happened, our coxswain cut the motor, spun the boat around, and then this guy dropped it. So we did that. He turned around and looked at the officer here that I almost shot. Well, when that happened, he looks at the colonel, and the colonel gave him a glare that would kill you. Like, he said, "Get the hell in, get in there." So he turned the thing around, got the thing started. We got the wave for it and got in again. Yeah, that was just getting ashore. Sounds funny now. Wasn't funny then.
No, I bet.
There was nothing funny about it.
I bet.
Yeah.
So as a radio man, can you talk a little bit about what you were doing day to day, who you were communicating with, and what you were communicating?
Okay. I was in. We have what I call a regimental, an OPT, observation post,
Mm-hmm.
and we set this up in was on Saipan and Iwo. And we were basically the direct eyes and ears for the regimental commander. We reported straight to the regimental colonel who ran the thing. So I'd go out every day, and there were other guys back on the same network that we had, and that's why we had the Indians, they were part of that. So we go out, and he'd say, "Well, I want to know about, go over and check such and such an area." Mm-hmm. So we'd go to that area, and then we'd report directly to him. We didn't have to go through all the other. We were the only regiment did that. He wanted his own. He trusted us or something. I don't know what the hell it was. But he knew he could, if he wanted to know something, wanted to know right now, he could do that. He didn't have to go through the chain to get that. So that worked out pretty good. And we would go out, and I said one of the times was about this, about the flag raising when I called in and asked the guy. But we would go out and see something, and he'd say, "Well," we'd call in and tell the colonel, "Well, the reason they haven't moved is this and that, or they moved it, they're over there." So he had his own eyes and ears out there. That's what we did, man, pretty much. So, and I did that all carrying this radio through that sand and all that crap all the time. But we did a lot of scouting around. We would be out, a lot of the times we're out in front. It isn't like you're looking, Japs 10 feet away. There's open, you don't know where the hell you are, We get out there one time, and we got into a kind of a hollowed out area. Put a couple of scouts up front, And we pulled out the maps. I was with our corporal, see where we were. So we looked at, finally got the maps all spread out. He looks at it, looks around. I hit about the same time. There's nothing in front of us but Japs. We thought we were still behind some guys, some Marines or something. So he looked at that, and he held it, get your radio on, go get that guy and get him back here. And we took off running as fast as we could go. And pretty soon, here comes some mortar rounds in, right where we were standing. So we were running down this hill, and every time we do that, the guys would kind of get around me, because I had the load. Mm-hmm. So there'd be a couple of guys in front of me, behind me. And we're hauling ass down this hill. And a couple of some Marines on the way. I said, what the hell's going on? I said, don't ask. We just got right and go.
Turning around.
Didn't even answer. As I say, it's funny when you go back later, it scares the hell out of you when it's happening.
I bet.
Because you don't know if you're going to make,
Yeah.
if you're going to make it or not.
I bet.
I get the stories that go on now. You remind me a lot of it if we go.
So after you left EWO, where did you go after that?
We sailed back to Maui and to our camp back there, and I had applied for V12 in the Navy Training School, and I did that after Saipan, and they rejected it. But they recommended that I do it, reapply. So I did. When I got back, I put in again. And the first time I went over, I'm talking to, there's a board of review here. And I think the highest ranking guy was a major, and probably maybe a couple of lieutenants. Next time I got a couple of colonels. I knew it was different, totally different. And so, I got my best khaki on, just trying to look real good. And the first thing he asked me is, tell us about that. Oh, I didn't tell you before, I fell asleep on Tinian and I got court-martialed.
I didn't know.
Well, I was going out with the scout team all day. Mm-hmm. No hot meals for anything because, we're on the go all the time. And I came back and the damn, our major, I had to stand on watch at night. And I'm busting my ass for 12, 15 hours, and now I can stand another watch. Mm-hmm. And I fell asleep. And so what you can do is put the earphones, hang them down on your helmet, turn the volume up, and if a call comes in, it'll wake you up. Mm-hmm. I knew that. I wasn't, the radio was never out of commission, right, technically. But I was like, well, we had a real chicken shit colonel, and the assistant, the regimental deputy. So he came over and he disconnected the set and pulled it away. Then he went and he got my communication officer and told him the story. So my major goes over and kicks me in the, I said, what the hell? And I remember him saying, he was a real tight ass too. He said, where's your radio? So I turned around, where the radio was, it wasn't there. Yeah, when he did a turn, then I walked right back and I looked at this other guy, the other colonel. I said, that son of a bitch. My major says, don't say that. I said, he took it out of me on it. Anyhow, so I come back and I talked to the intelligence chief, mm-hmm, who I was working with, not my own communication guys. I told him the whole story. He says, okay, I'll get you off. And he said, just keep your mouth shut. So I said, well, I want to press charges against the colonel. He said, PFCs don't prefer charges against colonels. Keep your fucking mouth shut. Just like that. Oh, shit. So I get, he gives me this, he types out the thing he wants me to read. And I looked at him, I said, I can't read that. That's not that. He said, just read it and shut up. So I get in front of this court-martial board, and they said, what happened on the night of that? So I told him. He said, you must have been pretty tired. I said, yes, I was very tired. Well, at first I said, it's all in the record book. Sorry, I'm not record in the record book. You know, you got to be straight.
Sure.
So he said, you must have been pretty tired. I said, yes, sir. Well, after this, my colonel made assistant division commander, and the guy that took the radio now is in charge. So they called me out in front of the company one night after chow and everything. They're fine lawyers and that shit. There's PFC Carlyle, front and center up there. So to read off this technical charge against me. In that on something, did this and the findings of the local findings in the division were approved as stated. So they put me up for 30 days extra police duty, which means cleaning out. We were getting ready to go to Europe, and to cleaning out the headquarters, sweep it and all that shit. 30 days extra police duty and reduction in rank to private. Well, that didn't hurt. I'd have been a senior private. Hell, you get more privileges than you do as a PFC, really. So that didn't bother me. Anyhow, they read this thing up, and so this asshole approved it. It goes over to headquarters, where my colonel is now, assistant division commander. And it comes back, approved as stated, without the reduction in rank. So I didn't lose my rank.
Okay.
So I go down, and the guy reads it up. By this time, the guys behind me are laughing. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
So the guy continues, and he stops in mid. He says, "Get the hell back in line." That's all this stuff. So I know I had to sweep out the. So I did that for a couple of weeks. Supposed to do it for 30 days. Finally, they said, "Don't do that anymore." We're planning on getting all classified stuff here, and so I didn't even do it. You know? So I whipped. Basically, something I could have been in Portsmouth or something.
Sure.
Navy jail. And it was just nonsense, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember, as soon as he said, "Where's your radio?" I turned it on, and that son of a bitch.
Set you up.
But they wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me sue him.
Yeah. Oh boy. So fast forwarding to, I guess, to the end of the war.
End of the war. Okay, came back and didn't have any clothes or anything. And I remember it was I got picked for the V12 program. That was it. I got picked for the V12. So I was back before almost all the rest of the guys. I got back with the prisoners of war and those kind of guys. They were the first guys released, the prisoners of war. But I got back because I'm going to go to this. You had your choice. I was Cornell or NYU. Well, I've been away.
Yeah.
So I took NYU. And
well, where were you when the A-bomb dropped? Where were you then, and what was your...
when now was that? August. I was back.
Your stateside?
Yeah. They had big plans. The 4th was included in the invasion of Japan. So that's where... That was next if I'd have stayed in the division, you know. And they'd have been right in the middle of it, and that would have been awful, because those people didn't surrender. The loss of life would have been millions and millions of Japanese and Americans. Thank God for the damn A-bomb. I've never read that. In fact, I met Tibbets at an air show down in Florida when I was back with my son. Tibbets dropped the bomb, Colonel Tibbets. And I had a thing that I'd taken with me of, it was a B-24 taken off on Tinian. So when I got talking, he had a book signing thing. So I read that, I said, Colonel, how much sign this? And he said, well, why did I sign that? And I said, because I was there. Well, that's where he took off from. He said, thank God for you Marines. You know, by that time he said, well, why were you there? I said, I was a Marines. So I got the whole story. Neat guy, spent a little time talking to him. Very, very nice guy. He said after the war, he never lost a minute's sleep from anything because he saved millions of lives. Now, doesn't help those couple 100,000 he incinerated over there, but what the hell? We were going to burn them out anyhow.
Yeah.
That's what I could think of. Yeah, that was, I was back in, August, I was probably just getting ready to go to college at that time. I felt very relieved because I said the 4th would have been in the middle of that and it would, chance of coming out of that was even less than surviving this other stuff.
Sure.
So when I got into that semester, studied aeronautical engineering at NYU. 4 years of that. And when I came out, I graduated in 49. And 49 was a bad year. It was before Sputnik, and, you know, everything was, you couldn't get a job. It was, so I got a job with the National Research Council on doing research on artificial limbs. I had an interview with a general that was in charge. There was a general who was in charge of the Alcan Highway, had retired, and the VA hired him to do this. The VA put $1 million, and it was in NYU, and I'd come out to UCLA, that's right. UCLA and Cal Berkeley. And UCLA did upper extremity research, and Berkeley did lower extremity. That was always right. It was reversed. Should have been the other way. So I spent a couple, 3 years doing research at UCLA, and we set up a training program for the industry, the prosthetics industry. Well, we'd have guys come in for 2 or 3 months and teach them all the latest techniques how to do this. And we had physical therapists and prosthetists, and we have them all together and build a team. And then you go back to these various, mainly VA places. So that was a very rewarding time. I enjoyed that. But again, I ran into they hired a guy who didn't know his ass from his elbow, and he decided to take me on. So I said, "Screw you." So I got back into Douglas. Whenever I applied with Douglas and got a job in human factors research. I did that for a lot of years. I retired from Douglas finally. And I did a lot of work on the A4 and the A3, the B-1 bomber, the A-10. We had all those airplanes. And part of that, I got up and I did some flight test out of Edwards. I got a medical certificate, and we had an incident where we had an A3 flying up over Northern California, and they decompressed it. And a pilot claimed that we had basically a 3-man crew: pilot, and a radio operator, and a gunner. He claimed that this gunner passed out. Well, the guy's story was that his contact lenses slipped, and he went like this, tried to keep the contact lenses in. The pilot wouldn't buy that story. No, he claimed the guy passed out. So I did a whole examination. I did a lot of work and everything. I finally went back and I said, I think you guys scared yourselves. And this guy went, you don't talk to a pilot like that, company pilot. You don't tell him something like that. You screwed up. What the hell you mean? He said, you weren't there, I was there. I said, I'm waiting for you to say that. I'll fly the next flight with you. I had to think. You what? Fly the next flight with you. Okay. So we went up. We decompressed the damn thing, and I don't want to do that again. But I proved my point to him.
Yeah.
I didn't pass out. Nobody passed out. And I proved my point to the guy. Oh, it's fun. I had a good career at Douglas. It was a lot of interesting work, and I did that stuff on those airplanes for a while, and then the last 8 years, I got moved up to a director level spot, and I was a program manager for ejection seats.
Oh, wow.
We had a major contract with the Air Force for the except for the F-16, F-15, A-10, B-1. And we were the sole supplier for those airplanes. So we had a lot of pressure on us, because if we had a glitch on the line, we had airplanes with holes in them that they couldn't fly. So we had a lot of pressure on that. It was a high pressure job, but we got through it. Did that for 8 years, and finally I go to work one day and I said, if I have to go to another meeting, I'm going to scream, because by that time it got under control, and your only problems were because somebody screwed up down the line.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it was. It was a problem-solving job. I just got tired of it. So I told my boss, who was my best friend, and I said, Bill, I'm going to quit. You know, I went out of here. Get everybody. You're kidding. You can't quit. I said, watch me. So I retired and got out of there and took a job as a manufacturer's rep in the same field.
Okay.
So now I'm drawing my pension and I'm getting paid as an outside rep, which is really nice.
Sure.
All I did was take guys to lunch, you know, short of flag. And it was interesting to do that for a few years, and then finally we met Dina, and we decided she's going to retire, and I'm going to retire. We bought a motorhome and travel around.
Nice.
So we did. Sold the house, everything.
Nice.
Motorhome was our home. Did that for 10 years.
Wow.
Went all over the country.
That sounds like a dream.
Yeah, it was really neat. Because my younger son lived at that time up in Woodinville, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
And my younger son was in Leesburg, Florida.
Okay.
So we kind of went between them, and her folks were all from this area in Vegas.
Okay.
So we could see them all. But we saw everything, and all up through, got up into Canada. We didn't get into the Badlands because it's too damn steep, and I just want to put the car through that.
Yeah.
We went through 5 motorhomes, 5 vehicles. We started out with the biggest one we ever had was a 40-foot Bounder.
Wow.
I bought that thing. I'd never driven anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I picked it up, and the guy gave me about a half-hour instruction in a parking lot, and I got on the San Diego freeway at 5 o'clock in this thing. What am I doing out here? I got the damn thing home, and I tried to back it up. And I got it. There was a big hedge and a tree, and I got it stuck between the two of them. I'm trying to back it in there because I never was good at backing up. So I had to cut half the hedge down. But yeah, make a long story short, she finally, she was working for Lexus.
Okay.
As a business manager of Lexus, was in Westminster. And so she finally just retired. And her boss, as a going-away gift, gave us that's when we just got married. Gave us a honeymoon in the Virgin Islands.
Oh, wow.
He had a yacht with a 3-man crew, and so it was us and a 3-man crew on this thing. Any place you want to go. They'd pull into a harbor, say, what do you want? You want some lobster? They go ashore. Lobster, what do you want?
Wow.
That was really neat. So we went over in the Virgin Islands.
That sounds like a treat.
Oh, yeah, he was a pretty neat guy. Very nice guy.
So how many kids? You had 2 sons? You had 2 sons?
Yeah, 2 sons. One of them is, he just moved back into Huntington Beach a couple of years and he's going back to Wichita.
Okay.
He's having, well, he's a marketing guy, mainly aerospace, but fasteners, power fasteners, he's into that. And he's doing real well. My other son's an attorney and he's an appellate attorney. They have they hire their own business down there. You heard the Villages over in Florida?
No.
A place called the Village, a retirement place, huge place. It's gigantic. They have an office there. They built a building, and they're very successful. He's doing real well. He's doing exceptionally well. He's out there. In fact, I think he went home today. Chris got home today?
I think so.
Yeah, just went home today. Just had him last week.
Oh, wow.
So, well, nice visit with him. But he's still law, and we're not into politics. The only problem we have is after he got married in Florida, he married into a Democratic family.
Okay.
And he just turned.
Crossing the party lines.
Yeah, so we finally just agreed to disagree and stop.
Well,
So we never won't talk politics. My older son's fine. I have no problem with him.
yeah.
But the younger and I just don't agree.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't want to fight with you.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, I'm talking about it. So we have an agreement. If they could all happen when we were over in Guam. He met me on Guam on one of those trips to Iwo. And he was out with his buddy. His buddy's a judge on Guam.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with him, and he came in about 2 o'clock in the morning, and he had reserved the room, and I was up there. So he had to get something off his chest, and he unloaded all this political crap to me. So I let him. I didn't say a word. And I said, are you done? He said, yeah, I think so. I said, can I talk? He said, yeah. I said, it's the biggest pile of shit I ever heard. And he said, oh, okay. That was it. So, but he doesn't miss much of a chance. But he learned, leave me alone, both of us, leave us alone. You know? Anyhow, that's, I say they're doing very successful back there and doing real well.
Good. And how many grandchildren do you have?
One, Tom.
One.
Grandchildren.
Ryder, one.
Ryder, okay.
No, grandchildren, you've got Blair, you've got
3.
four.
4.
Yeah, 4, and one great-grandson.
Great, yeah, one great grandchild, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my kid's got 3. And then,
One's in, tell him about Bryce, where he's at.
oh yeah. Bryce graduated from, they have a charter school there, so it was very good. So Bryce is over St. Andrews,
Okay.
going to school.
Wow.
Think about that.
Wow.
What a deal. What a deal. And he's doing real well.
Wow, good for him.
The other guy, Blair, is, I don't know. He's got a rock band, and
Tell him what Cameron did
Cameron is,
in Africa.
yeah. They went, Cameron, the little girl,
She was 16 when she
she's
did
18 now, but they went over to, on a trip, and she and her mother, and the place they visited was some maternal place,
Mm-hmm.
maternity place, and they had nothing. They had to wheel the people out doing, this thing, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So she start raising money for these people.
Mm-hmm.
And they've sent, how much did they send them?
build a maternity ward under the hospital. She ended up with $16,000. They built the maternity ward on the hospital. They went back last year and it was completed, and across the top is her name.
Wow.
Cameron Carlyle's Hospital.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they didn't have any incubators, so she raised some more money to get incubators for these people for their babies.
Wow.
Yeah.
16 years old.
Wow. That's special.
She's going to be real good.
Wow.
She's going to follow. She's going to follow like Bryce
She
her.
wants to be in medical. She
Okay.
wants to be a doctor or something. Not,
Yeah,
she
she's-
doesn't know which kind.
She's smart.
And good for her.
The one kid, the older kid, just I don't know what to think. He got good marks and everything, but he, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the other kid going to St. Andrews and everything, that's
Good for him.
not easy school to go through.
Yeah.
So I keep asking my son, I said, has he developed an accent or what? You're going to have it, you know.
Yeah.
Because I know just being around some of the Limeys, you can't help but get some of it.
Sure.
Some of their terms are neat, they're very useful.
Yeah.
But
it's-
Chris said the kids that go there are from all over. They're not just
Well,
from
it's
that
an
area.
international
So
school,
it's a
you know.
diverse, so he's really
Yeah.
not picking up that much because there's not that many of them there.
Sure.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But he's going to do real good.
Good. Well, I guess in summarizing everything, are you able to talk about your journeys back to Iwo Jima years later, and maybe
Yeah, no problem.
sort of how you?
Yeah, I've gone back 2 or 3 times. They take pictures every time I go back, and there's fewer and fewer guys. We dedicated a monument over there. It's just up from the landing beaches. And one side, I got pictures of it someplace. One side it has English and Japanese on the other. It's very interesting. The Japanese have become, some of our closest friends. They're very allies and stuff. I had a friend who was a machine gunner on Evo, and he got to know. He became a golf pro, and his Japanese counterpart was a friend who was teaching the Princess golf.
Wow.
So he had a chance. This guy said, "Do you want to meet the Princess?" She said, "Hell yes, of course I meet the Princess." So she came in with an escort, as a friend. So met him and everything, and she said, "Well, what have you been doing since you've been in Japan?" Well, he mentioned it down to Evo, and I thought, "Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that." So she picked up on it right away, and she said, "What were you doing in Iwo Jima?" And he said, "Well, I served there." And he said, she got a tear in her eye. She reached over and touched him and made something like, "Let's hope nobody ever does," all the right words. So later when they left, the other lady came back. Her escort came back and said, "I don't know if you know what just happened." I said, "What?" She never touches anybody. She's the princess. She was so touched by this thing. What a nice story.
Wow.
That's one of my favorite stories.
Wow.
This was, that flag raising was, well, probably over, I'm trying to remember, where it was probably down over here a little bit, just on the side. Yeah, this is the thing that Forrestal said, common virtue was all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Valor was a common virtue or something like that. Okay. You want a soda or beer or something?
Maybe just some water. Maybe just some water would be good.